Welcome to Main Purpose Ministries audio service. Problems come in all shapes and sizes, big, small, short, and tall. Today, I want to talk about a problem that the Bible refers to as Goliath tall. How can we beat problems that are bigger than us? Trust in a God that is also. Turn your Bibles there to 1 Samuel chapter 17. It's come that time. We've made it a year. We haven't really been through any kind of issues or any of those things like that, but it's still time to face the things that we often try to avoid. We're trying to face the things we often try to avoid. These things come in many different sizes, big, small, short, and tall. And today we're going to look at one of the tallest recorded in the Bible, okay? Problems. Today we're going to address problems. Not because Spring Ridge has them, but I believe human beings have them. I believe if you live upon this earth, if you breathe the same air I breathe, at some point in time, you're going to face a problem. You're going to go through issues. You're going to have problems at your work. You're going to have problems with your bank. You're going to have problems with your internet service, your television service. Someone's going to come along and cut your Dish Network line. And you're going to be without TV. Something's going to mess up your service. Something's going to throw off a relationship. Something's going to mess up an idea or anything. You got to think about it. I mean, sometimes, has anybody ever been in a wreck? A few of you, okay? Did it ever come at the right time? Did it come at the time you were ready and willing for it? I'm just ready to get in a wreck today. Never. Why? Because it's not so much the problem serving you, but rather how you've got to be in service during a problem. If you're going to surrender all, like the song said a minute ago, you've got to surrender during those problems too. It's not enough to be godly on Sunday morning and hate Him on Sunday night. But the case and the cause is, I want to introduce you to a gentleman who didn't have much, who didn't really have it all together, who was really turned on by everyone. But when the Goliath-sized problem came along, all he did was surrender all. All he did was give him everything that he had. He didn't have a lot of experience. He didn't have a lot of brute strength. He didn't want all the armor they tried to put on him. But when the Goliath-tall problem came along, he surrendered all. Just whatever he had. And this is where, and this is how, and this is what I want to do. How do we stand up for Jesus? How do we put our trust, and how do we surrender all? We address a gentleman named David. Maybe Goliath didn't surrender all. Maybe Goliath didn't stand up for Jesus, but the one he was fighting against did. I'm going to tell you something. If I'm against somebody who's for Jesus, I'm going to try to run as far as I can. But I want to tell you something. If you're standing with Jesus, nothing can come against you that can beat you, unless you let it beat you. David wasn't going to let Goliath take a victory which God had already won. God had already given them the victory. All they had to do was go up there and take it. It's time us Christians take a stand and take what's ours. If you want your nation back, if you want your country back, if you want your schools back, David could do that. David could have got it back. David would have stood when all the others hung back and said, we can't handle this. David said, God already won. I just got to go stand and take it. Today I'm hanging with David because he was hanging with Jesus. He was hanging with God, okay? That's what I want to do today. How do you beat a Goliath-tall problem? That's today. We got to look at that in 1 Samuel 17. Okay, Saul and his army is all out here heading up towards the land where Goliath, and we know he had brothers, we know he had all these people. Land of giants is what they called it. And we know that Goliath was around 6 cubits or 9 feet tall, close to that. The tallest man on record almost made it to 9 feet. In Guinness Book of World Record, he missed it. by about 1.5 or 2 inches, okay? I think his name was Wadlow, I think his last name was. But tallest man on record. You stand up next to him, you look very minuscule, very puny, very inadequate, I guess you would call it in that sense, because you look up like this and you're about at his belt buckle, okay? But the tallest man recorded in Guinness is still smaller than Goliath recorded in the Bible. I'm still going by not the Guinness book, I'm going by God's book. Okay? I believe Goliath was standing tall. I believe Goliath was bigger. I believe it was a menacing threat. I believe it would have made anybody get a little bit worried. It would have made anybody get a little bit scared. It would have made anybody of those things. So, we're up to this point, okay? Now, David was off tending to the sheep and the shepherd. He was a shepherd boy, okay? He was off tending to his sheep, and they got a call saying, we got to bring some food. We got to bring some different things. Let's get David to go do it. Remember this? Okay? So, David runs out there just to bring in these things. And we get to... I just want to start with verse 33 of 1 Samuel 17. We've got to this point. David has got on scene. He's been talking with Saul just for a little bit, but it says this. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, this is great. Remember, he's just a little bitty boy now. And Saul is king. This is the same king that tries to kill him later. This is the same king that David ends up taking over. But that ain't yet, okay? He's just a little bitty shepherd boy. You started at 6, 7, 8 years old in Bible times. I don't know how old he exactly was, but we know he was of his youth. He was very young, okay? And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. So little old David, young little shepherd boy, has already beat a bear, and already beat a lion. He looks at Goliath and says, what problem? What giant, right? He's already took on things a whole lot bigger than he already was. How in the world did he do that? Let's look at that. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. David said, he's still talking, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. Okay, that sounded pretty good. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put on a helmet of brass upon his head. He also armed him with a coat of mail. Okay, that's just basically a chain mail to catch arrows or catch any dart, anything that would be shot. Kind of like bulletproof vests are supposed to be today. Okay, that's all that is. All right, don't get caught up in that. Okay, and David girded his sword up on his armor, and he say to go, and he had not proved it. He hadn't used that before. He hadn't been with armor before. It's like getting in the car for the very first time. I don't know if you know this, but most people who actually know how to drive drove before they went to their driver's test. Okay? Getting behind the car for the very first time may not be scary as you think, but you're not as good the very first time, I promise you. I had a little experience, but living under the law, if you know what I mean, I didn't get very much, but what I did get was enough, okay? So David had never put on armor, he never held a sword, he had used the things that he had always had and known as a shepherd boy, so he hadn't proved these things. Okay? And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off. He took off the armor, he took off the helmet, and he put down the sword. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had. even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. It's getting good now. Hold on to your seats, okay? And the Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. So he even had a shield guy in front of him. Not David now, okay? Look at what it says. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, a small boy, and ruddy and of fair countenance. So David was a pretty boy, right? But that was about it. He wasn't burly. He wasn't strong. He didn't look like an army captain. He didn't really have much going on, okay? But he was pretty. Pretty David, okay? And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. There's strike one against David. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. There's strike two against the Philistine, against Goliath. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord thy God. Not in the name of my slingshot, not in the name of my stone, not in the name of I've already killed a bear and a lion, but in the name of who's gotten me that far, in the name of the Lord. Notice, he came in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. Remember that. And we're almost done. 3 more verses. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day until the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, and all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. So why did David do this? He didn't do it for himself. He did it to show that there is a God. There is a living God, and that's the one that he serves. When we all about surrender and all, it's about proving who God is, not who you are. Okay? When we go into service to God, it doesn't matter who you are. It matters who God is, okay? And that's what David knew. Look real quick. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag. Look at how slow motion this is. David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it. Can't talk slang, but Bible did. Slang it. Look at what it said. That's the King James. Slang it, okay? And smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face. The stone hit him in the face, but he fell on his face. The stone hit him from the front, and God slapped him in the back, I guess. Knocked him down. I don't know. So look at what it says, and we're through. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Goliath, tall problems. How do you beat them? Let's look today. Let's pray really quick. Lord, I want to thank you for this moment. Thank you for this day. Pray that you would bless the reading and the study of your word and allow it to fall on ready hearts and minds willing to receive it today. In Jesus' name, amen. Today, we mention Goliath-sized problems. See, the issue is this. Oftentimes, we don't have a problem admitting, I don't know why, that problems are too small for God to care, or too big for Him to do, or Him to handle, or for Him to get, or for us to get through. And what I want to tell you is really quickly, just from pastor to congregation, from friend to friend, from family to family, whatever you want to call me right now, okay? I want to tell you that there is no problem too big or too small for God to handle through you, if you go and face it in the name of the Lord. Why was Goliath a problem? Because he was a giant? No. Because he was the army? No. Because he was from this land where all of them are giants? No. Because he was a Philistine? No. Because he had defied God. So don't go get mad at a tall person and say, God told you to. Find the ones that have defied God. Find the ones that are against God. And let me tell you something. It is okay to stand against those that defy God. It's okay to stand against sin. It may not be popular. You may not get the popular vote. You may not get voted into a high-ranking order or class or office or any of those things. But there is a call. There is a time. There is a reason to stand against sin. Why? Because the army leaders, the big machos, the ones with the swords and the armor and all that, just took a step back and said, we can't do it. It took a little bitty boy, shepherd boy, to stand in front of Goliath. That's where we're at today. How can we beat a Goliath tall problem? Number one, David would tell you this: do not stall. Do not stall. David was one of those creatures, like him or not. He was all about getting things done. I'm just telling you, whether it was when he had sinned and fallen short against God's glory, when he had the affair with Bathsheba, he was about getting it fixed as best as he knew how. And that didn't work out for him, remember? Okay? But here in the same case, when the bear came up, the lion came up, he went and took them out. That's kind of strange though, isn't it? Because remember, it said here, the lion and the bear, they took the one little lamb away. I'm a little bitty shepherd boy. I'm 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. He takes one sheep. I don't know if I'm going to go chase a bear or a lion and get my sheep back. I say, my sheep's probably dead. Bye-bye black sheep or white sheep. Bye-bye. Whatever. I don't know the song. Get over it. But we get to this point where David just went and did. David just went and got it. He comes out and he's absolutely embarrassed at his army. His army's sitting back, multiple people, armored up, sword, helmet, chainmail, whatever the case is, and one giant. To which the giant is standing and guarding what God has already given the children of Israel. Do we forget that part? Do we forget that the victory is just on the other side of our obstacles? Do we forget that stalling only makes the wait unnecessary? Stalling only makes the problems get worse. I can tell you this: problems get worse the longer you let them go. If you have something that's bothering you, it'll get worse if you don't address it then. I'm one of these people that can't hold stuff in. That's why I get in a lot of trouble, okay? Because if something bothers me, Lindsay will tell you, I will let you know. Okay? I'm not about hiding it and covering up, because I know what happens when you hide it and cover it up. You end up blowing it way out of proportion later. You end up going absolutely crazy about something that was just this small a week ago. Well, because the world is about this. If I just ignore it, it'll go away. Right? If I just ignore my little issue, my little problem, my little bitty thing. Right? Because what I want to tell you is Satan doesn't get you with the big stuff. He gets you with the small stuff. How many of you have committed murder? Come on. How many of you have robbed a bank? How many of you told a little lie? Just a little one. Just a little. Oh. A few of you lied just then. Your hand didn't go up. But what I'm telling you is we got this issue where we think that if we haven't murdered, we haven't stole, we're fine, right? It's okay to tell a little lie. It's okay to do a little thing, but not just the big thing. But what I'm telling you is if you continually stall the little thing becomes a big thing. We've all told the little lie, right? But then we have to tell another little lie to cover up the first lie. And then 3 lies into it, you've forgotten the first lie, so you've got to tell a whole different one to cover up for the very first one. And then Miss So-and-so, who remembers everything, she remembered the very first lie, and you got to retell her a different one. You got to get a book and start writing them all down. And this little bitty lies come a whole notebook full of different lies you got to tell to cover up the very first one you ever told. Right? What in the world? Something very small you stalled. You didn't cover it up. You didn't fix it. You didn't try to get rid of it. You stalled on it. You just hang back, ignored it, and said, oh, this one little lie I told when I was in 4th grade, it'll never come back to get me. But does it? The little lies can turn into some of the very biggest ones. In a way, in the same sense, emotions work the same way. If you're angry about something just a little bit, you give yourself a little time to talk about it to yourself and see if you don't come unglued. If you're willing to scream at yourself, you sure are willing to scream at somebody else. I'm just telling you about it. The world teaches us to ignore it. The world tells us to stall. But this is where we're at. Sometimes stalling can seem on the open positive. Sometimes stalling can look good, right? Because listen, Saul came to stall David. David said, oh, I got this. I can go handle this. Has he defied God? Yes. Let me go take care of him. But he says, no, wait, David. You need the coat of mail. You need the helmet. You need the sword. You need this. You need that. You need all these things. Stalling looked like safety, right? Looked like concern. It looked like it was working and doing right. But I'm telling you, if Goliath would have never been faced, he would have never went away. The Goliath tall problems will not just get up and walk away. Here's my question to you today. What are some things you've been putting off? What are some things you've been stalling? Just a little, not much. I mean, let me tell you it this way. There is no such thing. Oh, you're going to love it. You're not going to love it. There is no such thing as a good procrastinator. You don't have to like it. I didn't say that. That's not it. But there's no such thing as a good procrastinator. Why? Because at the end of the day, you're going to do the job very low, getting in barely on time, or you can have it done weeks in advance. Well, I'm better under pressure. Well, there was a Goliath-sized problem, and everybody else took a step back. What I'm telling you is it's not about being good under pressure. It's about being willing to not stall and just go do it. See, the funny thing is Nike has got it right. Some of y'all got it. Just do it. A lot of us are about just wait. Let God do it. No, Nike had it right. Just do it. Just get up and go do it. Put your big boy pants on and just go do it. Or big lady pants or whatever. And just go do it. Whatever y'all wear, okay? Go do it. See, we've got a whole bunch of things I believe Christians need to get up and just go do. I believe there's a lot that we can just do. I believe there's several problems that we're facing in our country today because Christians haven't got up and just done something about it. I believe there's a lot of issues, a lot of turmoil, a lot of trial. I believe there's a lot of people, a lot more going to hell than are going to heaven because Christians haven't done something. I believe we could fix our country. Can we come back completely? Can we get back to where we were? Maybe not. But I believe God has left us on earth for a reason. I believe when He's absolutely through, He'll come back when He says so. But until then, we got to just do it. We got to do something. We got to start showing them something. I don't know if you've noticed this, but we just got to get attention. I don't know. We've got to grab them again. David was ready for this fight. Today, are you ready to do something? Are you ready to face your problem? Or you just want to keep stalling? Well, preacher, I'll get saved later. Well, preacher, I'm just not ready to face that family member. I'm just not ready to face that trouble. I'm just not ready to face that financial issue. I'm just not ready to face that hospital visit, that chemo treatment, that whatever it is. I'm just not ready. Just keep putting it off. One day, you're going to put it off 1 minute too late. One day, it's going to be just too late. We know hundreds of people who got in their car expecting to get to their destination that didn't make it. We know several people that got killed in car accidents that never darkened the door of a church. If they had Jesus in their heart, they're going to heaven. But if they didn't, they're not. Like it or not, hate me or not, the way you get to heaven is Jesus by Himself. If you stall and you wait and say, oh, I'll get God the last second. We don't know. I'm telling you today that we just got to do. We got to do it. We got to face our problems. What can we do? Well, let's see what we think about with David. David said, don't stall. But David also said, it's on God you must call. Call on God. I know we have smartphones and we have speed dial and we have all these other things today. And it's so amazingly funny to me that everybody knows, like it or not, everybody knows when it's time to go to the emergency room. Everybody knows. Why don't we know when it's time to go to God? David said it's time for God. God had given him the victory. He said, I'm going in the name of who? My slingshot. I'm going in the name of my stone. I'm going in the name of King Saul. I'm going in the name of my God. He didn't go in the name of experience. He didn't, even though he had some with a lion and a bear. He didn't go in the name of his brute strength, his age, nor his armor. But he went in the name of God. Here it is. Who in the world has brought you to this point? Who has got you to where you are today? I asked that one time at another church I filled in at, and they all yelled out, me. You made the choices you are to get where you are, absolutely. But I'm telling you this, without the breath that God allowed, without the ability He gave, without the reason and the mind and all the other things that God even orchestrated, the Bible says, in the womb. You know, it's so funny that I mentioned to my Wednesday night crew who's here, I mentioned to them that there's a book in heaven that numbers every piece of your body. Every finger, every toe, arm, leg, before you're ever even thought of. Isn't that strange? But it's on God you must call. Why? Because He has brought you through. It may have took you a while to call on Him, but He brought you through when you did. This morning I looked at a verse in Psalm that says, Lord, I need Thy strength, come quickly. I want to tell you something. God wouldn't have to come so quickly if He was with us at all times. If we would draw near to Him at all times, He wouldn't have to come so quickly. But who's brought me through? I'll just be honest with you. The one who's consistently been there. That's what's been there. You know, other than Mama Mary, this will go out to everyone else. Why do we keep eating chocolate? Because it still keeps tasting good. If all of a sudden chocolate started tasting bad, we wouldn't eat it. Like Mama Mary. She hates chocolate. Something's wrong with her. We need to pray for her. But I'm telling you, the reason you keep going back to what you love to eat is because it keeps tasting the same good. Why not keep going back to God? Because He's still good. God is good some of the time. No. Some of the time. A little bit of the time. All the time. You got it. All the time. Listen. Chocolate is good all the time. So we keep going back. If God is good all the time, better than chocolate, why don't we keep going back to Him? Whatever they're doing at Krispy Kreme is working. Because every time I drive by, there is no empty parking places out front. I believe God should be better than a Krispy Kreme donut. I believe God is greater than sugary goodness. Why ain't His parking lot packed out? Why isn't it hard to find places way out there at the end of the drive? He's better, right? He's more consistent than chocolate. God still keeps coming. Well, it's the same way with gasoline, right? Gasoline keeps the car moving. You quit buying gasoline for your vehicle if it didn't make your car move, if it didn't make your car go. But in the same way, God has been consistently there every time you've called. The problem, we don't call Him soon enough and then blame Him because He wasn't there. The problem is, God ain't in our country anymore. He's not in our schools. He's not in our homes. He's not in our governments. Why? Because we told Him to get out. Don't blame God for not being there if you've kicked Him out. He's in control, I know that. But God will not stay where He ain't wanted. That's biblical. I'm here to tell you that we've told Him to go on. This is what I love. This is just extra. Don't hold me to this one, okay? But have you ever, I don't know. I'm just kind of glad that some of the sayings that I say aren't really true. How many of you have said this one? This is going to be funny. I'm starving to death. Have we truly been starving to death? What I want to ask you is this. The next time you say that, I want you to go visit Uncle Don, where he sees people that are truly starving to death. Where we go to these foreign countries where they may not get a meal in 2 hours, 3 hours, 3 days, 4 days, a month. That's why you can see on these little specials when you're just flipping through to your next little drama show or whatever, you're flipping through and you see on the Discovery Channel, they're dropping a basket full of bread this big and there's a horde of people bigger than this church. Because that might be the only bread they get for a while. But we eat a lot better than the bread, don't we? Oh yeah, I'm starving to death. Oh, here's one. I'm dying to try that new restaurant. I've said that one. I've been dying to try that new thing going on here. I don't know. Isn't that funny? That shows you how blessed we are. We have to exaggerate on the bad to make it bad. I'm starving to death. I'm dying to try this new thing. We can't even get bad enough to even make that a true statement. You know you're blessed when that happens. Call on Him because He can handle both the small and the big. Most have more problems than they should because they haven't asked for help. Don't forget who's willing to help you. Last one, we're through. Okay? Y'all know this one. If it's on God we're supposed to call and we're not supposed to stall, what happens to our enemies? They will fall. Your enemies will fall. If you've been promised you're going to win, all you got to do is hold out to the end. I don't know if any of you watched the LSU game yesterday. Let's do it. Let's do it together. But wouldn't it be so different if you knew the outcome before the game ever started? What about the team? What if they would tell LSU, no matter what happens, we're going to give you the win anyway? It doesn't matter how many touchdowns they score. It doesn't matter how many times your quarterback gets sacked or any of those things. Whatever happens, whatever the scoreboard says, either way, you're going to win. Wouldn't that have been a different game? What I want to tell you is David went there knowing God had already won. When all you got, the games, the races, everything would be so different if all you had to do was show up. Wasn't that right? Wasn't that amazing? I don't know how it works. I don't know what's going on, but just show up. Listen, I promise you this. That red light you're sitting at is going to change. I don't know when. Some of them are longer than others, but the red light will change. The traffic will let up. I think a relative of mine, I don't know which one, Pop can tell you after church. Be sure and ask him, okay? One of them said, if you wait long enough, it'll open up. If you wait long enough for all the cars to go by, it may be forever, because there's some places that I go that needs a stoplight. Okay? There's one place up there in Shreveport right next to Strong's. They need more than a 3-way stop there. I'm just telling you. I went over there to eat when Mama Mary told me, and we almost didn't make it out of there alive. That's because I almost got out my vehicle, pulled them out of their vehicle, and beat them to death, and revived them, and was going to beat them to death again. But Christian Logan came out and said, no, you better not do that. Okay? But we've all had those instances, right? We've all done that. We wanted our enemies just to get out of the way. See, I was taught at a very young age, one thing and not anything else. It doesn't matter. I was this one thing for sure. How to obey a 4-way stop. The one who gets to the stop first goes first. Not the one turning right, not the one turning left, not the one who decide to creep up on you and do like a California stop or a rolling stop. But the one who drove up, complete stop. That's who goes first. We all decided to go at one time. It was like musical vehicles. No musical chairs because I was coming out of my chair. But I'm telling you, we want our enemies out of the way, right or not. We want the things out of our way. We want our obstacles removed. We want our barriers broken down. If God can do it, why aren't we asking Him to? That's good preaching there. Woo. This is 2 things. We need to trust 2 things that God has. And we're through. We need to trust God's power. Does He have enough to fix your problem? Yes. We need to also, this is the one we kind of tiptoe around. We also need to trust God's timing. I don't know why you're going through what you're going through. I don't know why your children are doing what they're doing. I don't know why your marriage. I don't know why your job. I don't know why your vehicle. You can put anything you want in there, but I know a God who is able. I don't know your situation. You don't have to come and tell your preacher your situation. You don't have to tell me anything because I can't do nothing but pray for you. I can pray for you without knowing what it is. But there's a God that knows it whether you tell Him or not. He is able to deliver you. He is able to bring your enemies, your obstacles, your barriers down. This is where I'm through. I promise you this. If you love God, get ready to win. That doesn't mean you're going to win today, but get ready to win. Because one day you will. If you don't like winning, join the other side. See, I believe, you're going to love this. I believe on November the 6th, 1996, on Wednesday night, I was 8 years old. I believe God took a loser like me and made me a winner. But the funny thing is, to be a winner, I've got to stay a loser. Doesn't that make sense to you? Do you know this? It's so amazingly well that we watch something, we see the race, we know the winner's name. But think about this. Without all those who lost, you would have never had the winner. Without all the losers, those who lost out on glory, for all have sinned and fallen short, for all those losers who lost God's glory, there would have been no need for a winner at Calvary. Folks, today I am a loser. I lost my sin. I lost my spot in hell. I lost the need for worldly affirmation. I'm the biggest loser in the room, and I'm proud to say so. That show ain't got nothing on me. The biggest loser? I've already lost it all when Christ won everything for me. The biggest loser, and you don't get this, the biggest losers, those who lose it for Christ, those who lose their sin, those who lose their spot in hell, those who are hated by the world because of everything they've lost, I guess. I will get to win anyway. Even after losing all that stuff, I get to win. Why? Because I'll never have to face a Goliath tall problem. No. Because I'll never have to come against something bigger than me. No. Because God will go with me. Don't stall. Just go fix your problem. If you have an issue today, fix it today. How? I don't know. Is it going to take some time? Is it going to take some effort? Are you upset? Are you happy? Is it going to make you sad? Sad. I was trying to say sad, glad, fad, Brad. I don't know. But get all of that out and just go fix it. Because I can promise you this. Nobody can fix it but you. Go fix your problem today. Family member, financial, it doesn't matter. Go fix it. Go fix your issues. Don't stall any longer because it'll get worse. We know this. I know this. How? Call on God, because you can't do it by yourself. And remember that your enemies, your obstacles, and your barriers will fall. The thing separating you will fall. The thing messing you up. The thing holding you back. The thing locking you in. Whatever it is, your enemies will fall. I just got to read this one more time. You're going to love this. Then said David to the Philistine, I promise you I'm closing. Thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts. It's time we take on our problems and go forth against them in the name of the Lord of hosts. We have the situation. We have the solution. We have the army. We have the backup. All we got to do is show up to the party. There's an enemy that needs to be beaten, and we're the only ones that can do it. Let's take God out there. I'm going with God. I don't need armor. I don't need experience. I don't need brute strength. I don't need to run a race. I don't need to pass the test. I need to go in the name of the Lord of hosts. Goliath tall problems. I know how to beat them. Let's do that today. If you would stand with me. Trust in God today. Whatever problems you may be facing, hand them over to Him, because nothing is bigger than Goliath tall. Have a blessed day. Thanks for listening.